Alright, we just want to spend a few minutes going through a couple of the new features in the R2 tracker release. One is the Snooze feature, and we're going to go through some different workflow scenarios with it and explain how it works. And the other is the Reserve feature. Reserve is something that's been available in the Facts tab for a long time in Tracker, but now reserved items can stay reserved outside of the Facts tab, and this will hopefully help a lot of people's workflow because it will allow you to move those out of the Facts tab more quickly and handle them through work lists, which I'll show you here in just a second. So the first thing we're going to do is just take a few example faxes in our Facts tab, and we can reserve them to ourselves, or if I'm a reconciler and assigning work to someone else, I might just go through actions and pick the person that I want to assign this particular record to. And I'm going to use the user that I'm logged in as our example today. And so you basically can quick index these records as we do this. So I would look at the order quickly, see what name's on it, go ahead and quick index it. And I would determine that this patient has actually been in our hospital before, so my HL7 record comes up with an unassigned option. I'm going to select that since we don't have her scheduled yet. And then I'm going to go down and, using a custom field, I'm going to set this to call the patient. So at that point I'm done with this. I can get it out of my Facts tab, so I'm just going to save it, mark it complete, and move on to the next record and assign it. So we'll do another one too. So this one I'm going to reserve to the same person, but we're going to index to a different patient, and I'll do it completely manually just to show a different way this would work. So this time I'm going to index to a patient who is not in my system. So I'll just manually index the information that I want, and I'm going to go ahead and I can pick a modality or whatever I want here. This is all just optional according to your workflow, but what really I'm looking for is the callback status here. And so I'm going to go ahead and save and mark this complete as well to get it out of the Facts tab. And then we're going to jump over to our work lists, because this is where Snooze and reservations work together. So I'm going to go to Tracker, and I have work lists already created. The work list is really just a set of search criteria that you can save and then put in this list here. You can even set each of these custom work lists as your default when you log into Tracker. It can be the first thing you see when you come in. So I've got some in call patient 1. That was my TCP1 status. That's to call the patient. So as user Felicia Hardy, who's been assigned these by the reconciler, I'm going to go into this list and see, alright, who do I have to call and schedule? Alright, so I attempted to call Ms. Garcia to get her scheduled. We didn't get her. We left her a message. So we're going to snooze this record at this point. We want to drop it off of our list for a period of time. And we've got options in here with defaults of a day, 2 days, or 3 days, or I can set a specific time by selecting this option with calendar, and even down to the minute of the day. But we're just going to set that for 24 hours. And once we've snoozed the record, it's going to drop off of our list, right? Now, it hasn't disappeared from the system. It's just simply hidden from this list, and this is why. The criteria for this list I'm going to show you now. The criteria for this work list that I'm currently in is based on a saved advanced search that says, show me what's in currently TCP1 status, that's to call patient first try, and that's not snoozed, right? Because we don't want to see things that are snoozed. We just want to see things that aren't snoozed, right? And I also want to see things that are just reserved to user Felicia Hardy, because the reconciler that assigned that fax reserved it to her before she did the quick index and then marked it complete. That's key, really, for this particular process. So Felicia's just going to work the next fax in her list, and then tomorrow when that snooze expires, that one we just tried to schedule is going to pop back in the list, and she can try again. Now, she could have changed the status on that record to TCP2 if you wanted to use different statuses, and you'll see I've got those examples here, callback 2 and 3. really a process decision for each facility and how you want to work the scheduling. But in this case, I didn't do that. I'll show you that in another example here in just a second. But the bottom line is her work list is clear to that item for the time period that it's snoozed. When the snooze expires, the record will come back in, and then she can try them again. So let's go back to her work list and take a look at the next example. And what we'll do with this one is essentially we'll say we contact the patient and we get them scheduled. So at this point we go in and we update the record with the account number. That would be coming from the patient system. I'm dealing with an example here, so I'm not going to go through all that with you, but let's just say we get them scheduled and everything's good. I save those changes. At this point, we're done with this record, so we can drop them off this list. So the way we're going to do that is just unreserve it at this point. All right. So as soon as I unreserve the record, same thing happens. It's going to leave this list, and then we move on to the next fax. So that's really how these things work together.